NBA YoungBoy has always been a figure surrounded by controversy, drama, and headlines that capture the attention of millions. But the latest revelations about his relationship with his godmother are shocking even for fans who have followed every twist and turn of his life. Sources close to the rapper are now saying that this connection goes far beyond what most people would consider normal, raising questions about boundaries, influence, and the personal dynamics that have shaped the young star's life. For a figure like NBA YoungBoy, whose personal life has always been intertwined with his public image, this revelation isn't just gossip. It's a glimpse into the private world that has long been kept behind closed doors. The relationship in question reportedly involves a level of intimacy, guidance, and emotional influence that has blurred the lines of traditional roles. Fans are left asking, is this a nurturing support system, or has it evolved into something more complicated? As details begin to emerge, it's clear that this is not the typical godmother-godson dynamic people assume. There are hints of conflict, favoritism, and moments that suggest the connection has played a crucial role in NBA YoungBoy's personal decisions, relationships, and even his career choices. Social media has already erupted with speculation. Clips, screenshots, and insider commentary are circulating at lightning speed as fans try to piece together the truth behind the headlines. Some defend the relationship, citing loyalty and guidance, while others question its appropriateness and potential impact on YoungBoy's life. The debate touches on deeper issues: the influence of close family figures, the pressures of fame at a young age, and the fine line between mentorship and control. One thing is clear: this story is far from over. Every revelation, every insider comment, and every social media post adds a new layer to the complex picture of NBA YoungBoy's life. And as fans dig deeper, the tension builds, leaving many wondering what else might be hidden behind the scenes. This isn't just another celebrity headline. It's an eye-opening look into the dynamics that have shaped one of hip-hop's most controversial and closely watched stars. NBA YoungBoy has always lived a life under the microscope. From his early rise in Baton Rouge to international fame, his every move has been scrutinized. His relationships, legal troubles, and personal choices all dissected by fans and media alike. But the latest revelations about his relationship with his godmother have taken that scrutiny to a whole new level. According to insiders close to the rapper, this relationship isn't what most people assume. It's not the typical, supportive, boundary-respecting godparent connection. Instead, it's a dynamic that has reportedly influenced his personal decisions, shaped his behavior, and even impacted the way he navigates the music industry. For YoungBoy, whose life has been marked by complex family dynamics, this relationship appears to be one of the most pivotal and controversial forces in his world. From the outside, NBA YoungBoy's godmother has always been portrayed as a supportive figure, someone who guided him during difficult moments and provided a sense of stability when the pressures of fame and family weighed heavily on him. She was often described in interviews and social media posts as a figure who offered advice, financial support, and a listening ear during his lowest points. But insiders suggest that behind closed doors, the relationship was far more complicated than the public narrative. Reports indicate a level of closeness that goes beyond mentorship or familial support. There are accounts of intense emotional exchanges, disagreements over personal decisions, and moments where influence crossed the line into control, raising questions about how much of YoungBoy's choices have been driven by this godmother's input. The timeline of their relationship is just as intriguing. Sources say it began when YoungBoy was still in his teenage years, a time when he was navigating family struggles, early legal issues, and the beginnings of a music career that would skyrocket in popularity. She allegedly became a constant presence in his life, attending studio sessions, personal appointments, and even court dates. At first, this involvement seemed purely protective, an attempt to guide a young man through the chaos of early fame. But as YoungBoy's career exploded and the stakes grew higher, that involvement reportedly intensified, blurring the line between guidance and interference. Friends and associates say that this godmother had a direct influence on certain relationships he entered, people he associated with, and even some financial decisions he made, leading to tension within his circle. Fans have noticed some of these dynamics play out in real time. Social media posts from YoungBoy have hinted at conflicts, gratitude, and occasionally cryptic messages that seem to reference advice or pressure from close family figures. Music videos and lyrics also suggest a preoccupation with loyalty, protection, and control, themes that insiders now believe are tied, at least in part, to the Godmother relationship. While many fans assumed these messages were general reflections on trust and family, those familiar with the situation claim they carry deeper meaning, subtle references to disagreements, manipulation, and the emotional complexity of this connection. Adding to the intrigue is the way YoungBoy navigates the public's perception of this relationship. On the surface, it appears wholesome, a young star expressing gratitude for a guiding figure in his life. Yet sources emphasize that this public portrayal masks the tension, disagreements, and emotional burden that reportedly exist behind closed doors. The balance between public image and private reality is delicate, and insiders suggest that YoungBoy has often struggled to maintain control over the narrative while managing the personal influence of someone who has been a key player in his development since adolescence. The impact of this relationship extends beyond the personal. It may have affected YoungBoy's career decisions as well. There are reports that some collaborations, label negotiations, and business choices were influenced, or even vetoed, based on this Godmother's guidance or insistence. While some argue that this kind of oversight is protective, others see it as a limitation, a controlling force that may have prevented him from fully exercising independence during crucial stages of his career. This dynamic has become a point of fascination for fans and commentators alike, as it provides a rare glimpse into the personal struggles of a public figure whose life is often interpreted through headlines and social media snippets. As the story continues to unfold, one thing is clear: NBA YoungBoy's Godmother is not a typical godparent, and their relationship is far from ordinary. The intensity, emotional complexity, and potential influence on both his personal life and professional career make this one of the most talked about and scrutinized relationships in his life. Fans are watching every move, trying to piece together clues from posts, interviews, and public appearances, while insiders continue to provide context that challenges the simplistic narrative of guidance and support. This is not just another celebrity headline. It is an intimate look at the forces shaping one of hip-hop's most controversial and closely watched stars. As NBA YoungBoy's career continued to skyrocket, the complexities of his relationship with his godmother became even more pronounced. Sources close to the rapper suggest that the relationship was not just about guidance and mentorship. It was a relationship that often influenced his decisions in ways that outsiders would find unusual, if not concerning. Friends and former associates describe moments when she was present during highly personal conversations, including discussions about romantic partners, financial matters, and even decisions about tours and music releases. While godparents are traditionally meant to offer support and guidance, those familiar with this situation describe a pattern where influence crossed over into control, creating tension and dependency that was hard for anyone, even someone as fiercely independent as YoungBoy, to ignore. Some insiders explain that this dynamic began innocuously. YoungBoy, as a teenager, faced immense pressures, legal issues, family instability, and the sudden attention that comes with viral fame. His godmother, aware of these pressures, became a stabilizing presence, attending court dates, offering advice, and helping navigate early career decisions. She was protective, a constant in an otherwise chaotic environment. But as YoungBoy transitioned into adulthood and his career moved into the national spotlight, the boundaries that once seemed helpful began to blur. What started as mentorship reportedly evolved into an almost omnipresent influence over his personal choices. Close associates say it sometimes felt as if every move had to be filtered through her approval, and even minor disagreements could escalate into tense confrontations. This influence extended into his personal relationships. Several sources have claimed that she played a role in vetting or advising on romantic partners, monitoring social circles, and even influencing decisions about who could or could not be trusted. While the details remain murky, insiders suggest that this level of involvement created strain for YoungBoy, who is known for his fiery independence and strong will. Friends described moments when he appeared torn between loyalty to someone who had been there since the beginning and his own desire to make decisions on his own terms. The tension created emotional strain that could be seen in his social media activity, lyrics, and public appearances, subtle hints that fans often misinterpreted as generic references to trust, loyalty, or betrayal. Social media became a magnifying glass for the situation. Fans and commentators dissected posts, videos, and interviews for any sign of the influence his godmother might have had. Cryptic posts, emotional captions, and even the tone of certain music videos sparked speculation about behind-the-scenes dynamics. Some posts appeared to praise guidance and loyalty, while others hinted at frustration, restriction, or manipulation. Observers noted that there seemed to be a pattern. Moments when YoungBoy's personal or professional decisions aligned with his godmother's preferences were celebrated publicly, while moments of independence often carried subtle tension, suggesting that the influence she wielded was far more significant than outsiders could perceive. Financial decisions also came under scrutiny. Insiders indicate that she may have played a role in some business negotiations, endorsements, or label interactions. While some argue that her involvement protected YoungBoy from potentially harmful choices, others suggest that it may have limited his freedom to explore opportunities on his own terms. The pattern that emerges is one of intense oversight combined with protective intent, a combination that, while rooted in loyalty, created a dynamic that many would consider far outside the bounds of a typical godparent relationship. Those close to YoungBoy describe it as a complicated mix of guidance, influence, and emotional weight that he carried alongside the pressures of fame. Even as the public watched and speculated, YoungBoy himself seemed caught between gratitude and frustration. Interviews occasionally hint at tension, statements of loyalty and respect intertwined with subtle admissions of emotional strain. Friends say that he has struggled to balance his appreciation for someone who was present through his toughest moments with a need for autonomy in both personal and professional spheres. The relationship, while deeply influential, was not without its conflicts. Reports describe arguments that stemmed from disagreements over personal choices, touring schedules, and even public interactions, with both sides passionate and unyielding in their positions. As the story developed, it became clear that this relationship had shaped not just YoungBoy's life but also his artistry, his lyrics, public persona, and even the way he engaged with fans reflect the complexity of navigating loyalty, influence, and independence. Some fans now view certain verses as coded messages about control, personal boundaries, or guidance that has veered into manipulation. Observers suggest that understanding this dynamic offers a new lens through which to interpret his music, a perspective that combines personal experience with public performance, giving a deeper sense of the emotional and relational forces at play. What stands out most is that this relationship is far from ordinary. While godparent relationships are typically supportive, YoungBoy's experience appears layered with influence, emotional intensity, and a degree of control that is unusual. The connection has shaped his decisions, affected personal relationships, and even played a role in professional choices. For fans and insiders alike, the story highlights the complexities of navigating fame, loyalty, and personal boundaries, and it provides a rare glimpse into the private forces that have shaped one of hip-hop's most controversial stars. As NBA YoungBoy's career progressed, the relationship with his godmother continued to evolve in ways that insiders describe as both protective and controlling. While it was clear that she had his best interests at heart in many situations, the level of influence she wielded over him was extraordinary, far beyond what most would consider a typical godparent relationship. Friends and associates recall instances where she intervened in his personal decisions, from who he allowed into his inner circle to how he managed conflicts with other artists and business associates. These interventions were not always subtle, and YoungBoy often found himself caught between gratitude for her guidance and frustration at the limitations imposed on his independence. The emotional complexity of the relationship became particularly evident during moments of crisis. When YoungBoy faced legal issues, he often relied on his godmother for advice and support, attending court dates with him and helping manage his public image. While her involvement was initially welcomed, insiders suggest that over time, the line between guidance and control began to blur. She reportedly exerted influence over who he could associate with, including collaborators, romantic partners, and even close friends. In some cases, her advice carried such weight that YoungBoy felt obligated to follow it, even when it conflicted with his own instincts or desires. Sources describe these moments as both protective and suffocating, a delicate balance that added tension to his already complicated life. This influence extended into YoungBoy's professional decisions. Some insiders suggest that certain career moves, collaborations, or social media posts were either encouraged or discouraged based on her guidance. While this level of oversight might have shielded him from potential pitfalls, it also created a dynamic where his autonomy was compromised. A friend close to YoungBoy noted that he sometimes expressed frustration at being unable to make decisions independently without worrying about her reaction or expectations. At times, this tension seemed to manifest in his music and public statements, with lyrics hinting at loyalty, control, and the struggle to navigate influence while maintaining personal freedom. Fans, meanwhile, noticed subtle signs of the relationship in his social media activity. Posts that appeared to reference trust, loyalty, and guidance often sparked speculation about his godmother's role in his life. Some interpreted these messages as normal expressions of gratitude, while others suggested they revealed a more complicated dynamic involving influence and control. Videos, interviews, and even lyrics became a canvas for expressing these emotions indirectly, providing fans with a glimpse into the tensions and loyalties that defined his personal life. Analysts and commentators began piecing together these clues, attempting to understand how his godmother's presence affected both his life and his career. Insiders also point to moments of tension between YoungBoy and others in his circle as evidence of the complex dynamics at play. There are accounts of arguments, disagreements, and strained relationships resulting from the godmother's involvement in decisions about personal and professional matters. Some friends and associates expressed concern that her influence might sometimes alienate potential collaborators or interfere with opportunities that could have benefited him. Yet, despite the tension, her role was never fully negative. She also provided guidance, support, and a stabilizing presence in situations where YoungBoy might have made impulsive choices. The relationship, however, was not static. As YoungBoy matured and gained more experience navigating the pressures of fame, the dynamic shifted. While she remained an influential figure, there were indications that he began asserting more independence, testing boundaries, and making decisions without seeking her approval in certain areas. These moments of autonomy, while empowering, sometimes led to conflict, as her protective instincts clashed with his desire for self-determination. The tension created a push-and-pull dynamic, at once supportive, restrictive, and emotionally charged. What becomes clear from this ongoing story is that YoungBoy's relationship with his godmother cannot be easily categorized. It is a mix of mentorship, loyalty, influence, and control, one that has significantly shaped his personal and professional life. While outsiders may view it as unusual or controversial, for YoungBoy, it is a relationship that has provided both guidance and challenge, support and constraint. Understanding this connection is essential to understanding the context behind his decisions, his music, and his public persona. The complex interplay of care, influence, and control highlights the emotional weight of having someone so central in his life. Fans and insiders alike continue to speculate, analyze, and interpret the signals in his posts, interviews, and lyrics, piecing together a picture that is intricate and sometimes contradictory. It is a relationship that has defined significant parts of NBA YoungBoy's life, shaping not only his choices but also how he engages with the world around him. As NBA YoungBoy's life unfolded under the public eye, the influence of his godmother became increasingly intertwined with both his personal and professional trajectory. While many fans assumed that her role was purely supportive, insiders paint a picture of a relationship that was far more layered, intense, and, at times, controversial. Reports suggest that she was often the first person consulted before major life decisions, whether about collaborations, label agreements, or personal relationships. For someone like YoungBoy, whose life has always been a balancing act between fame, loyalty, and survival, The presence of a guiding figure is understandable. But what set this situation apart was the level of involvement, the emotional weight she carried, and the subtle control she exerted over choices that might otherwise have been entirely his own. One of the most striking aspects of their relationship is the emotional intensity. Sources describe moments where conversations turned heated, with disagreements that could last hours, often involving deeply personal issues. Whether it was an argument over a romantic partner, a business decision, or how he presented himself publicly, YoungBoy reportedly felt a constant tension between gratitude for guidance and frustration at restrictions. Friends have noted that these moments sometimes led to emotional strain, reflected in cryptic social media posts, lyrics hinting at loyalty conflicts, and sudden shifts in tone during interviews or public appearances. While the Godmother's influence could provide stability, it also carried a subtle pressure, a sense that every move was being monitored and evaluated. Professional decisions became a particularly sensitive area. Insiders suggest that the Godmother had significant sway over collaborations, touring schedules, and even public statements. While she often acted in what she believed to be his best interest, the line between support and control blurred, creating moments of tension with managers, record labels, and collaborators. Friends recount scenarios where opportunities were postponed, altered, or avoided entirely due to her advice or insistence, which, while protective, sometimes conflicted with YoungBoy's personal ambitions or artistic instincts. This tension highlights a recurring theme. The intersection of guidance and influence can be a double-edged sword, even when intentions are rooted in care. The public began to notice patterns, even if they didn't fully understand them. Social media posts, cryptic lyrics, and video content frequently hinted at emotional struggles, loyalty dilemmas, and the complexities of managing outside influence. Fans speculated endlessly, trying to decode the relationship and understand the motivations behind certain behaviors. Some interpreted posts as homage to her guidance, while others read them as veiled frustration or subtle rebellion. In the era of viral content, every post, caption, or performance became a point of analysis, offering glimpses into the dynamics that shaped YoungBoy's life offstage. Even within his inner circle, the relationship stirred conflicting opinions. Friends, managers, and collaborators often walked a fine line, recognizing her role as a stabilizing force while also feeling the pressure of her influence. There were times when her presence was protective, mediating conflicts, offering advice, and providing support during legal or personal crises. At the same time, her involvement occasionally created friction, with people in YoungBoy's life feeling that decisions weren't fully his own. The push and pull between support and control became a recurring theme, affecting not only his immediate relationships but also how he approached his career and public image. Despite the complexities, it is clear that YoungBoy's bond with his Godmother is deep and enduring. The relationship, while unconventional, has played a central role in shaping who he is today, not just as a performer but as a person navigating fame, influence, and personal responsibility. Insiders emphasize that the dynamic is not purely negative. The guidance and emotional support she provides have undoubtedly contributed to his resilience, creativity, and ability to survive in an industry that is both ruthless and unpredictable. It is precisely this dual nature, protective yet controlling, that makes the relationship so fascinating and, for many observers, so controversial. Moreover, the relationship illustrates a broader truth about celebrity dynamics. When someone is thrust into fame at a young age, the lines between family, mentorship, and influence often blur. YoungBoy's experience serves as a case study in how guidance can transform into control, and how loyalty and love can coexist with tension and frustration. The Godmother's role in his life is a reminder that behind every public figure is a web of personal relationships that shape choices, influence behavior, and impact both personal and professional outcomes. By now, it is evident that YoungBoy's Godmother is far more than a traditional godparent figure. She is a powerful presence whose involvement has shaped decisions, impacted relationships, and influenced public perception. The emotional and professional complexity of their connection offers fans a rare window into the realities of life for someone navigating fame, loyalty, and influence simultaneously. And as the story continues to unfold, the world watches closely, eager to see how this dynamic will continue to shape NBA YoungBoy's path, both as an artist and as a person struggling to define his own independence in the shadow of powerful influence. As NBA YoungBoy's life continued under intense public scrutiny, the dynamics with his godmother reached a point where private influence became intertwined with very public consequences. Friends and insiders describe a series of moments where tension, guidance, and control converged, highlighting just how unusual this relationship had become. Sources reveal that as YoungBoy's fame grew, so too did the godmother's involvement in decisions that many would consider strictly personal. From relationships to business choices, her influence reportedly extended into almost every area of his life, creating a constant push and pull between loyalty and independence. For someone as fiercely protective of his autonomy as YoungBoy, this dynamic was both a source of strength and a source of stress. Several incidents illustrate the complexity of the relationship. There were moments when YoungBoy's friends or collaborators felt sidelined because decisions were being heavily guided, if not dictated, by someone outside of the immediate professional circle. Some opportunities were delayed or cancelled, sometimes at the insistence of his godmother, which insiders suggest created tension not only within his inner circle but also with industry partners. While the intent was often protective, the outcomes sometimes sparked frustration and speculation, fueling rumors and gossip in an industry that thrives on narrative and controversy. It became clear that her role was not merely supportive. It was influential in a way few could ignore. Personal relationships also bore the weight of this involvement. Friends close to YoungBoy noted that romantic partners and even some family members had to navigate her presence carefully. The guidance she offered was often framed as loyalty or protection, but the emotional weight behind it made it challenging for YoungBoy to exercise full independence. Social media posts, cryptic captions, and even lyrics began to reflect a growing tension, signaling to fans that the relationship was far from ordinary. Analysts and commentators began dissecting his content with renewed scrutiny, attempting to identify the subtle ways in which her influence shaped his life choices, both on and off the stage. The emotional stakes were high. YoungBoy reportedly struggled with balancing gratitude for someone who had been a constant in his life with a natural desire to make decisions on his own. Insider accounts describe heated discussions, moments of disagreement, and the occasional clash of wills, a dynamic that could be both nurturing and suffocating. It was a relationship built on loyalty and history, yet complicated by the pressures of fame and the intensity of his career trajectory. For many observing from the outside, it raised questions about boundaries, influence, and the impact of close relationships on the personal freedom of young artists thrust into the public eye. As the story unfolded, fans began to realize that this was not simply a behind-the-scenes anecdote. The influence of his godmother had tangible effects on his life, shaping professional collaborations, personal interactions, and even the way he presented himself publicly. While some critics were quick to label the relationship as unusual or inappropriate, insiders emphasized its dual nature: protective and controlling, stabilizing and emotionally charged. YoungBoy's lyrics and public statements now seemed layered with subtext, coded references to loyalty, struggle, and the emotional tension of managing someone's influence while trying to assert independence. By the time these revelations became widely known, the narrative had grown beyond the personal into the public sphere. Fans debated whether the relationship was a form of guidance or control, admiration or manipulation, with no easy answers. Social media became a battleground of opinions, with supporters defending her role as a stabilizing force and critics questioning the